Welcome back to Just Got Played. This is your boy Jim Jam JJ here, and I got another review for you. This time, I'm going to be reviewing the Masters of the Universe board game, specifically the Clash for Eternia and the Box of Power. What we have here is a He-Man game. It's like a skirmish He-Man game. We have Skeletor and his forces, He-Man and his forces, pretty much anything that you've ever seen in the universe or ever came out as a toy, it's in this game. So I'm very excited. It took a long time for it to come out, but it finally did, and I finally got some plays in. So I'm going to talk to you about the first two, the main box and then the first expansion, because there's a few other expansions that hopefully you'll see over the next few weeks, and I've already seen on the channel, the unboxings that I did. So I'm going to review the parts that I've played right now, which is just the main box and the Box of Power. There's so many characters and so many terrains and scenarios. Just from that, I haven't been able to get to everything else, but when I do, I'll talk about those ones as well. For the Clash for Eternia main box, we have He-Man and his forces, Teela, Man-at-Arms and everything, Skeletor and his forces, Trapjaw, Evelyn, Beastman. So we have the main characters from the He-Man franchise from there, not so much like the Sorceress or anything yet. We haven't gotten to the other characters. So right now, we're going to focus on the main characters and basically how to play. So I'm going to give you a quick overview right now. So the first thing we're going to do in the overview is go through the setup. Part one of the setup is, as a group, you're going to figure out who the player team is and who is the controller. The controller controls a team of 3 characters, as you can see by the controller board, and then they also have 4 controller cards or skills that go along with the controller board. The players team is going to be consisting of 1 to 4 players. Each player gets to control 1 character, as you can see here, and then each character is going to have their 3 skills. Each player on the player team is going to get a player board, while the controller gets their controller board. And the next step of the setup is you're going to go through the scenario book. There's one that comes with the Clash for Eternia main box. There's going to be some scenarios. The big box does not have, Box of Power, I should say, does not come with the scenario book, but some of the expansions do as well. And there are some, I guess, fan-created scenarios on the website that you can look at on the CMON website with added scenarios. And of course, you can always come up with your own. The scenario book has an index in it, and it tells you when you can use certain types of scenarios. There are open size, AI scenario, and set sides that emphasize specific story elements that will need to be used in that game. For the most part, it's pretty much your own creation here. You can go by the scenarios, which I'm going to do at first, and then after that, I'm probably going to create my own or use some of the fan-made ones. I believe on the Reddit page, there is also scenarios as well. Next thing you're going to do is, since everybody has chosen which side they're going to be on, you've chosen your scenario. If it's an open scenario, you can choose any character. So the controller is going to choose their team of characters, team of 3, depending on which side they're on. You can either be the good guys or the bad guys. And then the player or players are going to choose their one character that they want to be. For the main box of Clash for Eternia, there are the main heroes. So you got He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Teela, a man with Ram-Man and Stratos, and they kind of intersect themselves. Of course, Orko's in there as well. And then, of course, for the main box, you have Skeletor, Beastman, Evelyn, and then Triclops, Merman. That is it for the main characters in the main box. Of course, if you have the big box, there's a whole plethora of characters you can choose from. So there's plenty of characters in Masters of the Universe, the board game, for you to choose from. And for the next step, the controller person is going to take the controller board along with their 3 chosen characters they chose for their team, along with the 4 controller skills, as well as you're going to choose 1 minion from your side to play with for this game. And then you're going to take the strategy deck and also shuffle that and make a deck off to the right of the controller board. The controller cards are going to start with their depowered side, and then there's going to be opportunities during the game that you're playing to empower them onto the other side, which is going to be the black side. They start on the depowered side, which is the white side. Next, we want to set up the HP and escalation tokens. Here we have the HP counter to denote everybody's health points, and then also the escalation determines the victory points for the players and the controllers. And then we have an escalation token, let us know we get to be the more perilous and complete objectives. Once you get to the different levels on the escalation, you will get to flip over those skills pertaining to that character. The skills will get stronger at that point. Also, we have our turn order at the top here. At the beginning of each phase, you're going to determine turn order, and this lets you know how much energy you get when you activate your character. Make sure you keep a track of this, of the HP and the escalations, because those do make a difference. as you're playing the game. Usually KOing a character gets you more escalation. If it's an opposing character, that's, very good, because then you get the better skills as the escalation moves down onto the tracker. Up to 5. And then lastly, depending on the scenario you have chosen earlier in the setup, you're going to set up the game with the different terrains and objectives and spawn tokens that you need to complete the objective that you're currently playing. And then after that, you're ready to begin the game. Next, we'll go over the order phase and the activation phase, which is the crux of playing Masters of the Universe, the board game. And now we'll go into the actual gameplay of Masters of the Universe, the board game. First is the activation phase. Separate groups, the controller and then the player or players will decide what order their character or characters would like to go in. The controller will have the first turn of the game, and then it will alternate between the players and the controller for activation of their characters. As you can see, there is a corresponding power that you'll get depending on the activation. Later activations will get you the most power. If you go last in the round, then you'll get 3 power, which is the most power you can get from the activation phase. In general, each character will have 1 time to activate, especially if you're a controller. If you're playing with 2 players or less as a player, each of your characters will get to activate twice for the turn, so just remember that as far as getting energy for the round. The controller gets to spread out their energy, but the players only get to use it for their character, so make sure you use your energy wisely, and also note that you will not be getting as much energy if you activate earlier in the round. You do get to use actions that are before everybody else does, but yeah, you won't have as much power in order to trigger the higher level of skills. Next, we'll go into the actual activation phase. Because the order phase doesn't take too long, the players can discuss what order they would like to go in. The controller is only the one person, so they kind of just order however they want. For the second phase of a round is going to be activation phase. So in turn order from the tracker board, each character is going to get a chance to activate. So you're going to flip over the order card for that character, and then that character is going to activate. So the first thing they're going to do is get the corresponding energy from above order on the tracker board. So it's going to be from 0 to 3 possible energy. Most of the time it's going to be 1 or 2. And then you can add those energies to the side or underneath of any active skill. You cannot put energy, or you cannot put power on any skill that is not unlocked. So it has to be an unlocked skill in order for you to put energy next to there. As those slots are empty or locked, you cannot put power next to those slots. Once power is set to a skill, it cannot be moved unless a skill allows you to do that, or you are able to get power from somewhere else. But once you put the power next to that skill, you cannot move it. It can only be used for that skill. After you've received your power and place them next to the corresponding skill that you would like to use it for, each character will have a chance to do any 2 actions in any order. You can attack, so you will be able to attack any opposing character that is within attack range to you, or you can interact with objects or characters within range, or you can move up to 3 spaces, adjacent spaces, unless a skill lets you move more or less. And then some skills have bonus actions that you can use. You don't need to use an action point in order to use it, but you can only be used once per activation. So that's per your character's turn. Once a character has performed their 2 actions and or bonus actions, their turn ends, and it moves on to the next player on the tracker board. There is a special controller card that is called a strategy card. So the controller has their 3 characters, and they have a strategy card that goes off that they can use for their turn. They have their 3 characters and a strategy card. The strategy activation works a little bit different. You still get power, so you get the power corresponding on the tracker board with the strategy activation, but then you get to activate minions. So if you have any minions on the board as the controller, you get to activate those. They each get to take a movement and then attack within range. It has to be specifically move and then attack, but you move each minion one at a time and then attack with them one at a time. And then you can activate skills on your controller board. And those are the basics of how to play Masters of the Universe, the board game. Play will continue with characters being repeatedly KO'd probably until the escalation has reached a certain point and you complete the scenario objectives. And then after that, you will determine who completed the objectives or prevented the objectives depending on the end game triggers. So that's basically how it goes. And now we're going to go back to the review. And we're back. So you got a quick overview of the game. And as you saw, there's some of the pieces pretty much just play like an unmatched. So it's just a little skirmish. You have one team going against another team. If you're the controller, you have a minimum min-max of 3 characters on your team. And if you're playing as a player character, then you have one character that you're working on, one character that you're playing with. If you're doing one-on-one, then you're going to have your character go 4 times against the team of controller characters. But really, just kind of to break up the overview, to me, the game is simple enough, as you saw, that you could really just play minimum 2 characters. If you get a few plays in, you can do 4 characters. So go 3 against 4. It's really not that complicated, or 3 against 3 just to make it even. To me, there's not so much craziness with the skills and the powers of the characters that you will forget what you're doing, and then you activating at different times. So you're only activating one character at a time, and you're taking turn. While the other person, player or controller, is taking their turn, you can be working on your next character. So that's a pro and con of the game right there. So even before I get to my pros and cons, that's one big thing. It's so simple that you really don't need to. I couldn't imagine playing 1 against 4. That would drive me crazy. Just as an experienced player as myself, I just couldn't imagine playing one character at a time, and then I'd probably be on my phone during that time. That's what's nice about Masters of the Universe, the board game, is that you can just play a team. Yeah, I couldn't imagine a full player count. I'll probably play it one time, but 1-on-1 seems to be optimal. 1 and 2 at the most. 1-on-3, you're getting a little bit too much there. So my sweet spot would be 1 versus 1 to 2 players at most. That would be the most I would probably play. Everything else would probably just be a little bit too boring because there's not so much going on. There's a little bit of co-op, but you're only moving up to 3 spaces. And you're probably not going to use moves on both your actions for your turn. So yeah, I couldn't imagine. With that being said, let me talk about my pros. So biggest pro in the game is if you are in the He-Man universe, know anything about He-Man, you will realize there's probably more characters than you've ever heard, because they have pretty much every character that was ever made into a toy or a pop now. Pops are over there. Got pretty much all of the Masters of the Universe collection and pops. So it's nice seeing that in the game now. Even some of the characters that I've heard of that are like legendary heroes in the He-Man universe, and they're actually in the game even though they're dead in the He-Man universe. I don't know how that works, but you can play as them, like Hero or Grayskull. That is just the best part. I'm not even talking about the other expansions because there's so many characters in there, and then there's more scenarios. A couple of the boxes are just characters, as you hopefully saw from the silent unboxings. I'm gonna get into all that later, but the box of power itself just has so many characters in it. It's gonna take me a while to get through all of them, being the good guys and the bad guys. That's what's great about this game. That's what made me jump on the Kickstarter. I was like, ooh, really simple skirmish, didn't seem too complicated, and then you get all the heroes. It's just like, just put them all in, heroes and villains, put them all in there. Scenarios are also good. There's not a huge variety between the scenarios. They seem like pretty much, save a hostage or storm the castle or whatever it is, but the scenarios in the main box and also the big box seem varied enough. And then there's some more like on the website that you can get, and also I'm pretty sure you can go online. I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it like a Reddit for this, so there's gonna be some people creative scenarios. There's enough components in there that people can be creative, and hopefully it won't be too boring. I should say, just rinse and repeat of the same scenarios. Hopefully I can get into the TV show because I have it all on DVD, the original show, and then make some scenarios out of there. So the board, the way it's set up and all the terrain components, it's pretty simple to just come up with your own storyline and then create something. That's what's nice about it. There's some creativity there. And of course you have the Grayskull terrain piece, prop, whatever you want to call it, that was in the silent unboxing that I did. Technically not within the main box in the box of power, but still going to talk about it, because it's a big scenario where you can assault the castle or defend the castle, which is pretty nice. So that would have been like one thing that I'm like, if they'd left that out, I'd been very upset. The components look amazing. I went all in on the Kickstarter, so I got the 3D components, which is great because they all look great. As I said, I'm not going to paint them, but they still look nice. So hopefully you'll get some shorts of that at some point on the channel to see what those components look like versus the 1D tiles and then the 3D versions of them. That was really great being able to play with those. They're like good quality, which is very good. Also, the one big thing about this is an easy gameplay. So if you have somebody that's new or versus somebody that's a veteran, Hopefully you can meet in the middle with this. The veterans might be kind of bored if they're not into He-Man, but as far as like a board game, it's still pretty nice and pretty simple. So you can play it with younger people and people that don't really play board games. It could be a good introductory as a skirmish game. Not too many complicated rules. Pretty basic as far as that's concerned. But you definitely need to be a He-Man fan to enjoy this game. I will say that right now. If you're not a He-Man fan, I mean, if you're trying to get into it, you might like it. But yeah, as somebody that never watched He-Man, you probably not the game for you, just to say it right there. But definitely a pro if you're a He-Man fan. This has the feels to it, especially when you get like He-Man riding on a Cringer or something, jumping onto the battlefield. It's great. She-Ra and Swiftwind, awesome. Also, what's great is the variety of the character and terrain powers, which are great, seem very thematic. When you're playing as He-Man, you get to heal, or like you're in the bog or something, it slows you down. You're in the ruins, have to like worry about line of sight because you're in a building. Technically, that's what's great. I love that each terrain has its own special effect that has something going on with it. And from what I've seen, I haven't looked at all the character powers and skills specifically, but most of them are very thematic, at least the ones in the main box. So that's great. Looking forward to playing all the different characters, and hopefully each one has a different feel to it. The ones that like let you summon minions are really great. Tila and like Beastman, great. I love that you can actually summon stuff. Very varied powers to them. That's pretty much it for my pros right now. So I'm going to move on to my cons. The simple gameplay, which it's kind of, it's a con as well because you could get bored if the scenarios run out or you just aren't very creative in coming up with something your own. And as I said, the scenarios, at least in the main box, get kind of repetitive. Once again, this is definitely for a He-Man fan. If you're not a He-Man fan, you probably will get bored of this very easily. As a veteran gamer myself, I could see that very much happen right off the bat. Also, you definitely need expansions in this game. I could see it getting very boring once you learn most of the characters, or if the character powers themselves get repetitive, powers and skills, that could get very boring as well. So you're going to need expansions to keep this going. Luckily, they have expansions coming out on a regular basis, it seems, at least in the near future. It seems like jumping on board with that is probably definitely going to be a money sink, because the game is so simple that you probably will get bored if the scenarios and the expansions don't become more varied. But hopefully we get some crossovers, which would be great, and other properties that clash with He-Man over the decades. That would be very nice. And, tied in with the expansions, like I said, the scenario varieties. Hopefully the fans get creative and we get something super special in the Reddits and the websites or wherever, the wikis, and get some good scenarios. And hopefully CMON, they have some good scenarios that'll come out. I know there was some coming out while the game was being kickstarted. I haven't gone back and looked through all of those to see what those are like, but hopefully that continues for the life of the game. And one big con is there's so much stuff in this box. You're not going to be able to get it all in one box. Good luck with that. There's so much big components in there with all the characters and the cards and the terrains and all that stuff. Good luck getting everything in one big box, because it's just going to be a big old mess. What's nice about CMON games, it seems like in the recent games, is when you have character boxes, they actually have a shadow figurine. I forgot what it's called, but it looks like the character, so without having to open the box and look inside of there, you can see what characters are in that box. So that's very nice. I don't know how you would replicate that into like a all-in-one storage solution, but I definitely have everything in its own box. I don't plan on combining because it'd just be nuts. I don't know how I'm going to take this out of my house to go play it, or it's just like we're just going to get this many characters. This is all we're getting today. I need a specific scenario before I take this, because there's so much stuff going on. All right, so that finishes my pros and my cons for the game. I will say, once again, as a fan versus non-fan, definitely a game for He-Man fans. Unless you just have a very avid board gamer that's just down to play everything, I don't see this getting played or making it to the table on a regular basis. If you're playing with somebody that's never heard of He-Man, good luck with that. Hopefully you can make it work and make it very entertaining. But fans versus non-fans definitely have to be a fan of the game to enjoy this. Just my honest opinion. For the future, I would like to say more expansions, hopefully some crossovers. We know that DC owned the Masters of the Universe IP at one point, so if we can get some DC characters in here mixed up, that would be great. We had a crossover for Injustice with Masters of the Universe and also Thundercats. Oh my gosh, Thundercats came in here. There were many comic books where Thundercats mixed in with He-Man and Masters of the Universe. So hopefully that'd be amazing if we can get some crossover there. But definitely need more expansions with the He-Man lore. We already have She-Ra and the Horde, so if we get some more crossovers from something like that, or even, that'd be good if there's like a live action expansion and get Dolph Lundgren in there playing He-Man and then jumping around. There's so many different He-Mans out there, so you could just imagine. There's already in the game, there's all the different toy versions of He-Man and Skeletor in there, so why not just keep going into live action and stuff like that? Go from the TV shows that came out recently. that would be great. Hopefully the powers and the skills are varied to match along with that, like with all the other characters. Very thematic so far. Future talk, that's pretty much it. Just need more expansions. I don't know if you can get more props. Great. Me have Grayskull, so the main castle, which I forgot what it was called. I don't know what other locations besides just Eternia that you could put into the game, but definitely the Assault on Grayskull expansion looks very fun. Look forward to reviewing that one as well. Another quick review for you. This is one part of the Masters of the Universe review, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, share below. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Come to the Discord and tell me what you think. If you come up with some good scenarios, you want to plug those as well, make sure you come and let me know. I'll try them out. That'd be great. So come to the Discord and let me know what you think. I will be happy to discuss He-Man and all his iterations with you. And then any new comic books that come out, let me know. We can talk about that as well. And let me know about what your expansions and IPs and crossovers that you would like to see in the Discord. But for now, that's pretty much it. This is Jim Jam JJ part 1 down. Bye.